we're gonna start on our Hello My Love shiplap round. Start off by either having a piece of paper down on your work surface or just open up the box that your project came in and you can work directly on top of that. So the first thing is you're going to need your foam brush and then have your toothpick handy for the shiplap lines. The foam brush is going to soak up a ton of paint. So how I always start is I get some water in my hand and then I squeeze it onto the foam brush just to make it a little bit damp. That's so that it won't soak up so much paint right at the beginning. I'm just going to show you this quickly and then I'm going to push pause and finish my part so this video isn't forever long. But I just dip into, oh, I should get this onto the camera. Dip it into the white paint. And then I start in between the shiplap lines just to prevent getting so much paint in there. And if you use a really light touch, you really shouldn't get paint into the lines at all. But if you do, it's totally fine. You would just take your toothpick into the line, run it across, and the paint will come right out. So I start in the middle and I keep my brush angled up like this because that will help prevent it from getting on the sides as well. If you do get paint on the sides, you can just use your sandpaper to sand it right off. Okay, so as you can see, I got a little bit of paint right there in my line. So I'm just going to take my toothpick and it came right out. Now I'm gonna do 2, maybe 3 coats of this white paint. You wanna do really, really thin coats to make it more even so it doesn't look all blotchy and cakey. I'm even gonna paint down here because your cutouts, you're gonna be able to see through. So you wanna paint the whole circle white. Do that a couple times, maybe even do a light sand in between coats if it's feeling a little uneven. And then we'll come back when it's time for the next piece. Since I'm planning on doing my rounds 2 or 3 different times, while I'm letting the first coat dry, I'm just gonna go ahead and paint my hello. So you're going to take your small wedge. You are going to, obviously your paint will be in the paint pot, but you're just dip just a small amount on the end, dab up and down to get rid of all the excess paint so it's not dripping everywhere, and then just lightly bounce up and down. My son's getting ready to take my dogs on a walk, so they're pretty excited. And then just the lighter that you bounce up and down, the more even your coat is gonna be. You don't want it to be dripping down the sides, or you don't want to be holding on to like a huge puddle here. And so you just wanna lightly do this. Plan on doing 2 coats just to have the most even finish. And while you do this, this is also a good time to paint your stand if you have one of the stands that I cut. You can either leave it the natural color, or if you wanted to paint it a coordinating color, like I'll probably paint this one the dark color just because that will match with almost anything. And then once this dries, so as you can see, I'm not worried about having a perfectly even coat because I know that it's gonna even out on the second one. So I'm gonna let that completely dry and do a second coat. That's the same technique you're gonna use for the My Love cutout, but I gave you a large wedge for that. If you feel like the large wedge is too big, you can always just cut it in half, but it just helps cover more area quickly. So do both of these wedges, the colors, and once you're finished with your round, I'm gonna come back and then we'll put everything together. Now it's time to glue your pieces together. So I do this bottom half circle first. So the best thing to do is you're going to want to line it up 2 ways. The first is you want the bottom edges to match up, but then you also want the line that's straight across to be even with the shiplap lines so that it doesn't look super crooked. So just keep in mind, you're gonna eyeball it that way as well. So I'm just going to do a thin line of super glue, basically just in between the words. And we'll call that good. I want to make sure that I get some on the edges. I'm not really squeezing right now. I'm just using the leftover and dragging it along. I just got super glue all over my hands. It's fine. Okay, so I'm going to use my fingers to even it with the edge as I eyeball and make it even with the shiplap lines. And then I'm going to push down and hold it. Since it's a bigger piece, I'm going to just hold it down for like 10 seconds just to make sure that it stays down and that like an edge of it doesn't pop up or anything. Okay. And then for the hello, I took the bottom of the H and the bottom of the L's and I just lined them up with that bottom shiplap line. The font is bouncy, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but that will make it so much easier. Oh, it just dripped. Did you see that? I try not to squeeze too hard because I don't like to use very much glue, but so now I'm just using the tip. I'm not squeezing, I'm just using the tip to spread the glob out that I accidentally did. Okay, now I'm going to eyeball, before I even press it down at all, I'm eyeballing it to make it even from side to side. And then you press down. This one you don't have to press down for as long because it's a smaller piece. And there you have it. So if you had holes, you can hang it on your door or just put it inside your stand. If you want to put like a cute little bow on there, you can adorn it that way. But I think it's perfect as is. So I hope you enjoyed.